So locations in the comments as y'all are coming in, folks. We will get started in a moment. Put your locations in the comments. Locations in the comments. Let me know where you are checking in from. Topic here today, we're going to talk about the National Guard ambush shooting that took place in D.C. Recently. This was 26, so 2 days ago this took place. We'll get into that in a moment. As y'all are coming in again, shout yourselves out in the comments. Give me your location. I'm looking at this video on X. This woman, there's an argument in Sam's Club. So this woman goes to Sam's Club and she gets all the cooked turkeys and she buys all of them. Well, she put them all in her cart. So it's like, looks like she got about 20 cooked turkeys in her cart. And somebody's mad at her. Another customer is mad at her because she has all the cooked turkeys. She took all the turkeys. So if you look at this video, she has all the cooked turkeys in her shopping cart. But there should be usually they have a limit on these things that you can't buy all of them. She bought all of them. So there's an argument happening. This has 4 million views on X. And these people are, I wonder what she was doing with all those turkeys. Maybe she was reselling them. There's a hustle. She was flipping them maybe. As y'all coming in, put your locations in the comments, folks. That's not the topic here today. The topic is not people buying cooked turkeys. The topic is this ambush shooting that happened in D.C. 2 days ago. I'm just scrolling and just looking at some random things taking place on some things that took place on X. I'm just looking at some things that are being said. Some interesting conversations that I'll maybe engage in later on. As y'all coming in, locations in the comments. Let's see. We are live on Rumble. Good morning, Rumble. Live on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. Live on, I was just looking at X. Let me make sure we are live on X. Yes, we are live on X. Good morning, X. Live on LinkedIn. Good morning, LinkedIn. My name on LinkedIn and X and Rumble and YouTube is all the same. It is at Dre Baldwin. My name on all four apps. LinkedIn, X, Rumble, and YouTube is at Dre Baldwin. We are live on Facebook, Facebook/Work on Your Game University. Good morning, those who are watching on Facebook, or hello if you're watching a replay. We are live on Instagram at Dre Baldwin, and we are live on TikTok at Work on Your Game. So the topic again here today is National Guard ambush shooting. I'm going to shout a few people out in the comments as we get started. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, and shout out to all of you who are up early at the usual time on the day that a lot of people are treating as vacation. I did not treat this as vacation. I got up at the normal time yesterday, worked out today, and today we are doing this. We did not go live yesterday. So any of you who was looking for the live yesterday was not live yesterday. I told you all I would not be live yesterday. So those of you who didn't get the memo, if you're here every day, then you know what the schedule is going to be. So I told you I'd be off yesterday and I'll be back today. So here we are. And we won't have any more breaks, or at least holiday breaks. There may be other breaks for other reasons, but no more holiday breaks until we get up to about around Christmas season. And this year, let's see, Christmas is on a Thursday, so it's the same as Thanksgiving. So we'll probably be off the 25th of December, and we might come right back to 26th. So we might have the exact same schedule. We shall see. That's to be determined. So let me shout a few people out. Dwayne Mitchell, Detroit in the house. Good morning. Tina, good morning. Said, hope you and your family had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you. I did. Rick Thomas, good morning. Thank you for the gifts early. Tina, Michelle Steele, Shina H, Rick Thomas. Shina H from North Carolina, good morning. Rick Thomas from Ellington, Florida, good morning. Carol Ann Collins, Newburgh, New York. KB checking in from Boca Raton. Shout out to Boca Raton. L. Johnson, good morning from Union, New Jersey. Michelle Steele from Hershey, PA. Shout out to Hershey Park. Kelly L. from Plainfield, Illinois. Good morning. 140.6 Walnut Creek, California. Shout out to people up early in California. Sun's not even out yet. Patricia Henderson, thank you for the lightning bolt. Wifey Tips, thank you for the gifts. Jean, happy Thanksgiving. Good morning. And Wifey Tip, thank you for the lightning bolts. Okay, so let's get right into it. And so what happened is 2 National Guard members and Patricia from Hebron, Ohio. Is that named after LeBron, or was the LeBron get named after Hebron? Marky Man said, "Good morning, Dre. I told I would be here." Well, there you are. All right. You were right. You're here. So the shooting of two National Guard members. This happened just 4 blocks from the White House 2 days ago on November the 26th. This has been, as of what I found out this morning, has now been labeled a targeted ambush and a potential act of terrorism. So the person who did this is now going to get charged with a terroristic behavior because people think that this was planned. At least the officials who are investigating, they believe that this guy who did it planned it, and they specifically targeted some National Guard members, maybe not the specific person, but maybe just people who are in the National Guard. And they're going to mark this as a act of terrorism, probably because where it happened, proximity to the White House, and because it was done against some National Guard members. So I understand why this is being framed the way it's being framed. And some say this is shaking Washington, D.C. I don't know if it shakes Washington, D.C. I think it shakes the political mechanism simply because it happened 4 blocks from the White House and happened in the middle of holiday travel. Post-election, some say this is post-election tension. I disagree. The election was like 4 weeks ago. I don't even think people are even thinking about the elections anymore. And already heightened security. That I will say that there's all the security happening in D.C. right around the White House area. How the hell does a shooting happen right there on a National Guard member right in front of everybody? And how they get away with, how they even get to the point of doing this in the first place is a legitimate question that has to be asked, and I'm sure that'll be addressed. Now, this attack happened, as I said, in broad daylight. This happened in daytime, so this wasn't some nighttime somebody sneaking up. In broad daylight, in one of the most heavily patrolled blocks in the country, near the White House, and it prompted immediately the White House went on lockdown. There was a nationwide response from President Trump and a multi-agency federal investigation. And apparently the shooter, the alleged shooter, was or is an immigrant. So Donald Trump has something to say about that. And a bunch of agencies got involved. So the FBI is involved. We know them. DHS, that's Department of Homeland Security. Kristi Noem, if you know her. The CIA, I don't know who's in there. Can't name a single person. ATF, many of you have heard of them. And the Pentagon. So the suspect, who is an Afghan national, who got resettled under the 2021 Operation Allies Welcome Program. That's the person who did it, the suspect. They opened fire at point blank range on 2 guardsmen who were both from West Virginia. One of them is now dead, and the other one was critically injured. Now, the incident has now exploded into this major political flashpoint around the concept of immigration. Donald Trump is going to get a ton of mileage out of this. He's going to run wild with this, as are probably Kristi Noem, as is Tom Homan, as is, I don't know, maybe Kash Patel will get involved, but the Trump administration is going to run wild with this, being that this is an Afghan national and an immigrant. Absolutely. So a big political flashpoint, talking about immigration vetting, Afghan resettlement, national security preparedness, and the responsibilities owed to U.S. allies evacuated during the fall of Kabul, which is how this guy got over here. So with all that as background, let's get into introduce myself, then we'll get into more of the details of this topic for those who want to know about what happened, because I'm kind of learning about this in real time too. I wasn't paying attention to the news cycle that much yesterday. I heard about it on Wednesday, but I didn't pay that much attention to it. So I've learned about this a little bit more this morning. And as we talk it out, all of you will learn about it as well. So for those who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete, author of a few books, done a few TED Talks. I run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. And our focus is on what we call the power presence. Power presence, you can see that manual right there above to the left of me. If you're on Instagram, is all the way over here. If you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Rumble, YouTube, X, it is right there. Power presence is all about mastering communication. That's what power presence is, mastering communication. We know that humans are humans because of our ability to communicate at a high level of complexity that goes above and beyond that of animals. And animals are bigger, stronger, faster than humans, but we dominate because of our ability to communicate, both verbally and non-verbally. The power presence is about mastering your communication, not only what you put out, but also what you take in such a way that most of the work is done before you actually start talking. You want to master your leadership. You want to have more authority. Would you like to make more sales? Would you like to command more money in the marketplace? You want to get bigger and better jobs, or you want to just get more respect and be looked at as a more trusted and vetted source in your line of work, in your personal life, and anything that you do, community engagement, involvement. That is what the power presence is about. You want your presence to do most of the speaking for you before you actually start verbally speaking. You can learn more about working with me and getting into our mastermind where you have me as your direct coach at the link in my profile or the links that you see in the pinned comments or in my bio, whichever app you're watching me on right now. They're in different places on different apps. Anyway, this attack here, again, we're talking about this National Guard shooting that happened on Wednesday in DC, 4 blocks from the White House. It happened right near the White House during heavy Thanksgiving foot traffic. So according to what I've read at this time of year, a lot of people go on vacations, of course. And some people go on vacation to Washington, D.C. for Thanksgiving. I didn't know that was a thing to go on vacation to Washington, D.C. for Thanksgiving. It's cold as hell in D.C. around this time, late November, but this is what some Americans like to do. Those of you who like cold weather, you go travel to go be cold. I thought you would leave the cold to go somewhere where it's hot. And down here in South Florida, actually rained pretty heavily yesterday for about 15, 20 minutes. But it's still pretty warm here. So the low today is about 60 degrees. And according to the weather right now, this exact moment when I'm recording this, actually it dropped a little bit. So the low is not 60 degrees. I stand corrected. The low is maybe 56 degrees. It is 57 degrees right now, and it's going to get up to the low 70s today. So today is an anomaly. It usually doesn't even go this cold. Like tomorrow, for example, the low is 66, 76. The low is all at the least the mid 60s. But anyway, some of you like to travel, and you like to travel to a cold place. I didn't know this was a thing. I thought people mostly traveled to warm places, but I'm glad some of you like to go to cold places because it keeps places like where I like to be less overcrowded. So a bunch of heavy foot traffic for Thanksgiving on Wednesday, and this is where the shooting took place. Now, surveillance shows that the suspect walked up calmly, i.e. did not pose as a threat or appear to be a threat, which is probably why the National Guardsmen, with thousands of people walking past them all day, they can't be on point for every single human being. So they were probably in a more less alert state, not thinking that there was any threat for another random person walking by. This guy pulled out a .357 revolver. This is something you can hide in your waist. Pulled out a .357 and shot both guardsmen before he got shot himself. So very quickly he got shot. And this is the situation. Now, this area was not considered a high risk zone before the shooting, but it's going to be a high risk zone now because the patrol was a routine patrol, just a place where you have guards there. Usually when you have guards or police in a place, it's usually just as a deterrent to make sure that people don't go in there and do anything dumb. And just the presence of guards and police usually stop people from trying dumb stuff. People usually do dumb things or illegal things, allegedly illegal things, where they don't see guards or police because the guards or police are probably going to do something if you do something. So this guy might have been something wrong with his mind. He walks up to some National Guards and shoots because he knows there are other National Guards around and he knows he's probably going to get shot. So maybe he didn't care. So being that this was not a high risk zone before, a routine area intended to protect crowded public spaces, not something that was related to a specific threat. The challenge with this is something that all of you have seen if you've been on an airplane recently, or you've been to the airport anytime in the last 25-ish years, is that once people experience an emergency in a place like this, is that the security measures go up, they never come back down. And this is how we get, some people call this a surveillance state or a police state, where everything seems to be on some level of lockdown or high level of scrutiny or high level of security, or there are extra protocols that everybody has to go through because of something that happened last week, last year, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Again, once the security measures go up, they never come back down. This is how we get the TSA. The TSA at the airports was a response to 9/11. 9/11 was almost 25 years ago, and we haven't had anybody try that type of thing again since then. And some will say, well, that's because we had the TSA, nobody can try it. And at the same time, I'll say, because we have something like the TSA, let me back up. Because we had something like 9/11, we got a response such as the TSA. And now, though many of us are aggravated by and annoyed by and don't even appreciate the, let's call it value, for lack of a better term, I'll be generous, call it the value of the TSA. I don't think we need the TSA anymore. I think with the right security measures, the TSA can be completely destroyed and we can still have safety on our airplanes, because we had safety on airplanes for 50 years before 9/11 happened, and we've had safety for the last 25-ish years since 9/11 happened. This one black swan event caused us to put up all these security measures and create jobs for people. So shout out to those of you who got jobs working at TSA, but at the same time, screw the TSA. I'd rather get rid of the TSA and us figure out different ways to have security here so people can walk into the airport, walk straight up to the gate. There used to be a time you could do that. Some of you are old enough to remember that time when you could walk into the airport from on the street and you could walk straight up to the gate where people actually get on the plane. And we had plenty of safety and no crazy things happen on planes for 50 years before 9/11. Then 9/11 happened. Again, black swan event, random thing that maybe some of you may have thought it was planned or predetermined, but at the same time, it wasn't something that happened all the time. It's not like this happened every week. Happens one time, then we got all the security because we can't let this happen again. And a bunch of Americans wanted that. And some Americans still want it to this very day. And this, I'm bringing that up to say that this happening 4 blocks away from the White House means that the perimeter, let's just say the 5-block radius outside of the White House now is no longer going to be routine patrol area. Now there's going to be more security. Now the security people who are working there are going to be more on point. Now there's going to be more scrutiny. There's going to be maybe more stuff, red tape in some ways that you're going to have to deal with if you want to go in that area, even if you just want to take a walk and walk around that area or take pictures or anything like that. Now it's just going to be more heavily scrutinized. It's only going to make it, on one hand, it will be framed as this makes it more safe for people walking around who are not doing anything wrong. But at the same time, it's going to make it more cumbersome for any of you, regardless of what you're doing, simply because this happened one time. So for the next 100 years is going to be more security in the 5-block radius outside the White House because this happened 4 blocks outside the White House. They didn't think that was an area they needed to patrol with heavy security before, but now because of this, now it's going to be a more heavily patrolled area. And again, once these kind of measures go up, they never come back down. And that's the issue that I'm pointing out here, is that these aren't coming back down. But some people say that's a good thing. I disagree, but I understand. Most people tend to err on the side of caution, err on the side of safety. I don't err that much on the side of safety. I think something's going to happen is going to happen. Just like this guy walking up and shooting. So let's just say somebody decides to do something like this 10 blocks from the White House. They can do it. So what are we going to do? Eventually lock down everything. But I digress. Actually, it's kind of the point, but I'm digressing at the same time. Now, one guardsman was a 20-year-old specialist. Her name is a woman who got shot. Her name was Sarah Beckstrom. She was shot in the head and shot in the neck. She got hit twice, and she died yesterday morning. That's what made this even a bigger story, that it was a woman who got shot, and she got shot twice, and she then passed away Thanksgiving morning. Now, her death sparked national grief. Donald Trump called her family personally, and West Virginia is planning a public military funeral. Let me see if I can find Donald Trump's post on this. Donald Trump is technically on X. And okay, so on X, he does actually post, but he does a lot of, he takes a lot of his posts from his Truth Social and he posts it over to X. So he said, and I'm quoting Donald Trump here from social media, "The animal that shot the 2 National Guardsmen, with both being critically wounded and now in 2 separate hospitals, is also severely wounded, but regardless, will pay a very steep price. God bless our great National Guard and all of our military and law enforcement. These are truly great people. I, as President of the United States, and everyone associated with the office of the presidency, am with you." Exclamation point, close quote. So that's all Donald Trump had to say about it. And again, he can get a ton of mileage out of this simply because of who that guy was. And especially with a 20 years old specialist and female getting hit twice and dying, this is going to be leveraged. Now, early reports suggest that she died instantly, turned out false. So she didn't die instantly. They took her to the hospital, tried to revive her. She didn't survive. She was alive overnight at Walter Reed before succumbing to injuries the following day. Now, the surviving guardsman was a man. He was 24 years old. His name is Andrew Wolf. He returned fire and critically wounded the attacker, preventing mass casualties, at least what they said. This guy might have kept shooting. So the second guy who got shot, he shot back and wounded that guy. So they basically shot each other with the suspect starting this whole thing. And they say that this may have stopped him from continuing to shoot. Depends on how many bullets he had in his gun, which I'm not sure we have that information. Now, officials credit Mr. Wolf, Andrew Wolf, with stopping a potential multi-victim event in a packed commercial district. Now, this guy went and shot at the National Guardsmen. Why he didn't just start shooting at civilians who don't have guns, who couldn't shoot him back? We don't know. And are we ever going to hear from this guy and have him explain his side of the story? And will we be able to believe it? I highly doubt it. I don't think we're ever really going to know why he decided to do this. That's one of the issues with these type of shooting events, is that we often don't get the story from the suspect or the person who is found guilty of doing so. Now, the other National Guards person who was initially misreported as stable, doctors later corrected he remains in critical condition and he is undergoing surgery. So he still needs a lot of work on himself, despite the fact that he survived and he shot back. So right now he has a GoFundMe out there that has $500,000 in it, as his family is bracing for a long-term recovery. So let's look this guy up, Andrew Wolf, and let's see if we can find out about his. None here. Andrew Wolf. So, morning update on Andrew Wolf. This is coming from, I guess this is coming from his family. I'm going to read this. It says, there's a couple updates that come through. So it says here, this was 19 hours ago. Okay, just for context. 19 hours ago, it says, I want to give everyone an update on our boy. I'm supposing this is immediate family. We talked with the neurologist this morning. He said Andy is doing better than they had imagined. He's reacting to stimuli, opening eyes, and trying to move around. They are making sure he is sedated to allow the brain to heal so he's not feeling any pain. With this being said, though, we know that with a brain swell, it'll get worse before it gets better. So the guy has a brain swell, so this is not a guaranteed survival. But the neurosurgeon is hopeful that things are moving in the right direction. Andy has a very long road ahead, and right now we are going hour by hour, but miracles are already occurring just with his progress he's making so far. Your prayers and love mean so much to us, and we need you guys to continue lifting Andy's name up. He will be a walking testimony through this. Our God is good, and miracles are happening as we speak. I do want to make sure that everyone knows that we are not starting any GoFundMes. So they say they are not starting a GoFundMe. And then they say, I believe there's one out there, but we are wanting for nothing. We want prayers, love, and support. That's the most important thing right now. So please, if you see a GoFundMe, screenshot it and send it to me so we can make sure no one gives to these. So somebody went and created a fake GoFundMe. They said we are needing for nothing. So I'm assuming they're not going to even start a GoFundMe the way this is worded. Now, 20 hours ago, I'm trying to see if there's anything different on this one. Okay, so another one. So this came from Andy's mother, Melody Wolf. So Andy's been out of surgery for a few hours. His brain is being allowed to swell. First 24 to 48 hours is the biggest thing right now. They have no clue about any lasting effects right now because we're in this very first stage. First 2 weeks will be a waiting game. Right now, he's surviving and alive. We got to see him in ICU and he's sedated. Feels like a nightmare and this doesn't feel real. And this is a friend of Melody. Melody is the mom. So there's a friend asking this. And I'm just breezing through this to see what else is said here. Prayer warriors and anyone on a prayer train, you are desperately needed now. One of my best friends that called me and told me her son was one of the guardsmen shot at the White House today. He was shot in the head in the surgery as I type. I don't know. It looks like this is an add-on. Okay. So let's see if we see anything else. I'm trying to find something useful. I mean, not useful, but recent. So, Andrew, no, this is not it. Latest. So, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro provides an update on Andrew Wolf. This is straight from Fox News that literally came out within the last minute. We still have hope. He's still in critical condition. We're doing everything we can to assist his family and make sure that they have everything they need during this difficult time for them. We are all praying for Andrew Wolf. So that's the latest update. Let's see. So they have the woman who did not survive. This is the woman who did not survive. This is Sarah Beckstrom. And as of the last 5 minutes, Andrew Wolf is still in critical condition. Jeanine Pirro saying we still have hope. So that's the last that we've heard about Andrew Wolf, at least up to the minute. Now, he was initially, as I said, misreported as stable. He's still in critical condition, and there is no GoFundMe. According to his family, there is not a GoFundMe for this guy. So if you give into a GoFundMe, get your money back. And yeah, that's at least from what I've seen. They said we're not wanting for anything. So that sounds to me like money is not their issue. Now, the suspect was identified as an Afghan national. His name is Ramanullah Lakanwal, a former member of the CIA-aligned Zero Units. And that's a proper name, Zero Units. Now, he served in elite Afghan paramilitary groups known for high-risk raids and was part of the 2021 Kabul Airport Protection Detail. All right, that's where this guy comes from. Kabul Airport Protection Detail. So this guy basically knows how to operate a weapon. Now, if he knew what he was doing when he did what he did 2 days ago, I don't know. Was he in his right mental state? Why would you walk up to a National Guards person knowing that they have a gun and start shooting, knowing there's more than one of them and only one of you? I think he could probably figure if I shoot this one of these people or two of them or three of them or 10 of them, eventually I'm going to get shot too. So why would he put himself in that situation? I don't know what was going on in his mind, if he was of stable mind state when he did what he did. But maybe we'll find out. Maybe we won't. I say 90% chance we won't find out. Now, claims that he was a member of the Taliban, they say, are incorrect. Now, he fought against them for years, and he entered the USA through, again, the Operation Allies Welcome Program. So let's see if we can find out what this is. Tell me about the Operation Allies Welcome Program. I'm looking at Grok now, and they're going to tell us what this program is, and this is how this guy got in. So this program got launched in July of 2021. So that's 4.5 years ago. And it ended in February 2023. And this was done by the Department of State, DHS, DOD, and HHS. So the whole purpose was rapid humanitarian evacuation and resettlement of Afghan nationals, that's this guy, who assisted the USA during the 20-year war in Afghanistan. The USA was in a war for 20 years. So during our 20-year war, anybody who assisted, the whole purpose of this plan was to evacuate and resettle those people. Well, first of all, this wording this comes from the government. This wording is inaccurate. You can't evacuate people. You evacuate buildings of people. But let's not be sticklers for details here. And especially after the Taliban takeover in 2021. Now, the program was created in direct response to the collapse of the Afghan government and the fall of Kabul. So basically, it was chaos over there. They want to save some people. So the two main categories of people who were covered were special immigrant visas, also known as SIV applicants and holders. So these are interpreters, drivers, security contractors, embassy staff who worked directly for the USA military. So if you helped us out, we're going to help you out. And those who already had a congressionally created legal pathway since 2009. Afghans who helped the USA but did not qualify for the visa, they got in as they became humanitarian parolees. This was a larger group and it was more controversial. It included extended family members of those visa holders and others who were deemed as high risk. They were brought in under temporary humanitarian parole. That's what they called it, Humanitarian Parole Authority. They did not have permanent visas, and they did not have refugee status. So a lot of people came in under this, and this is what a lot of people had a problem with. Why are we allowing these people in here, even those who didn't even work with us and their family members, extended family, meaning their cousin could come into the country under this program? And a lot of people didn't like this. And if you note the timing of this, you know who was the president at this time. This is from 2021 to 2023. And what happened is the number of people who were brought to the USA under this program, I don't think a lot of you know this. The number of people brought to the USA under this program were 130,000 people evacuated to the USA. Did y'all know that? 130,000 people came to USA in this program. I didn't know that. The number of those who had visas were 20 to 25,000. Of that 130, 20 to 25,000 had visas. The number who were humanitarian parolees, that's the other group, the controversial group, that was 110,000 people. So out of this 130, 110 roughly were humanitarian parolees. These are people who, again, they helped the USA but did not qualify for a visa. So these are people who worked for contractors, people who worked for media outlets, women's rights activists, journalists, etc. And the family members of these people who were deemed to be at high risk, they were all brought in under this temporary humanitarian parole authority. Again, temporary humanitarian parole. At what point do you send them back from the USA to damn Afghanistan? All right, you tell me. So 110,000 were these parolees that are here in America, and 25,000 or 20,000, these are people who actually had visas. The largest single day airlift was 127 total from Kabul, including many to third countries. So not all of them went to America, but a lot of them came over here. Now, the top 5 states of resettlement, just so you understand, 23% of the people who, of those numbers I just gave you, 23%. Anybody know what state they went to? So I'm going to give you the top 5 states. Any of you want to guess which states these people went to? I'm asking for the top 5. So these people who got evacuated out of Afghanistan, brought into the United States, and again, you can't evacuate people, but they got brought to the United States. Anybody want to guess the top 5 states that these people got settled in? So there's one that is very much in the lead. There's another one that's a little bit close, another one close to that one, and then 2 that are with smaller numbers. So we're looking for 5 states. Let me see if any of you named any of the states. No. One of them got named. Wifey Tips, you named one of them, but it's not the number one. No. Ashley, Michelle, you named a couple of them, and a couple of them you got wrong. No. So a couple of you guessing one of them. No. Okay, so here's the answer. The states that they went to, Mr. Ohio J, you got the ones you mentioned are all right. We got to put them in order. So here's where they went. Number 1 was California. 23% of these people got relocated to California, or resettled is what they call it. 23% of people got resettled to California. 14% went to Texas. 11% went to Virginia. 7% to Washington State, not Washington, D.C., Washington State, and 6% to Florida. Now, that doesn't mean that nobody went to any other places. They just weren't in the top 5. So this guy in D.C., who knows where he lived? I don't know if we have all the information on this guy yet. California, number 1. Texas, number 2. Virginia, number 3. Washington, number 4. Florida, number 5. Those are the top 5. Now, the legal status of these people, they were on a 2-year humanitarian parole, which expired, past tense, expired 2023 and 2024. This does not mean permanent status. Any work authorization is temporary, and they are technically deportable after expiration, technically. Again, these are the people that Tom Homan are chasing down. That's these folks. Congress never passed a permanent pathway for these people. They tried between 2022 and 2024 to pass the Afghan Adjustment Act, and it failed. That was Congress trying to pass the act. It didn't work. Many applied for asylum or temporary protected status once their parole expired. Now, by late 2025, that's now, 70,000 to 80,000 of these people, that's more than half of them, majority of them, they have pending asylum cases, or they have received asylum or green cards. So more than half of these people who got brought to America they have pled for asylum and they have pending cases. So the court system, court system takes forever. So it's waiting. They're waiting right now. So they get to stay while they wait. And others have either received asylum or they received green cards, and everybody else is just in legal limbo, just sitting around waiting for something to happen. And these are the people that Tom Homan and crew are hunting down and capturing, and then they got to take them to court, and then you get this whole thing. So if y'all want to know why this immigration thing is such a big story and big situation, because the court systems work so slow that you got a bunch of people in limbo waiting for an answer. They don't have an answer yet, yes or no. They don't have one. So it was a ton of, I'm not going to read all the details here of this, but I will read this because y'all should understand this. Taxpayers, y'all should understand this. American taxpayers. The total cost to U.S. taxpayers for this whole program. Anybody want to guess a number? Give me a number. How much did this cost to do this? The total cost of this entire program, give me a number, ladies and gentlemen. I'm asking you to give me a number. And then I'm going to ask you for another. And then another number I'm going to ask you for because there's some interesting information I'm seeing here. What was the total cost of this whole program? Amanda said $1 billion. No, not quite. Jason said $20 billion. No, $200 billion. That's a lot of money. No, it wasn't $200 billion. Jason. Rick said billion. No, not quite. Mr. Hauser said $250 million. No, that would have been cheap. That would have been a Walmart version of this program. It cost more than that. Total cost of this program was $14 to $16 billion with a B. $14 to $16 billion to do this. That's between the DoD airlift, base operations, State Department resettlement, and the HHS refugee cash and medical assistance. Yes, you heard me correctly. HHS refugee cash and medical assistance. These people who got brought here during the resettlement program, they got handed cash and medical assistance. And, oh yeah, housing. Did y'all know that this happened? This happened in 2021 through 2023. Did y'all know that this occurred? Did any of you know about this? Give me a yes or a no. If you knew about this when it was happening. I never heard of this. I never heard anything about any of this. This all was happening between 2021 and 2023 under the Biden administration. 14 to 16 billion dollars spent on this. Every parolee, let me tell you what they got. They got 90 days of housing. 90 days is not a long time, but that's 3 months of housing when they came over here. That's one. They also got medical screening. I guess maybe just checking to make sure they don't have a disease or something. And they got work authorization so they can go get a job. Okay, that's fine. They can go get a job. And they got cash. How much money did they get? Let's guess a number. How much money did they get? Each one of these people, each one, every single one of them. Again, folks, we're talking about 130,000 people. Each one of them were given money in addition to 90 days of housing, medical screening, and they got authorized to get a job. How much money did they receive? How much cash did they receive? All right, so I've set you all up by giving you these big numbers. It wasn't that much money. Y'all guessing a whole bunch of money. Mr. $50,000? No, that's a lot. They didn't give him $50,000. They did not get $50,000. Sorella said $450,000. No, government is not that generous. No. $120K each? No. Rather y'all putting big numbers up here. It wasn't that much money. It wasn't that much. You got to remember, you got to divide this. That 14 to 16 billion is divided amongst 130,000 people. So each one of them got anywhere from $1,000 to $2,300. From $1,000 to $2,300, how much money they got in cash from the government. So Smitty was pretty close, 2 to 3K, I bet. And AZA said, according to Grok, though, 99% of information we're given is skewed regardless of source. Exactly. So no matter what source I get the information from, you could say that it's skewed. So you don't have to believe anything I say, no matter where I got it from. Because even if I got it from the government, you don't have to believe it, right? So what are we supposed to do? So each one got between $1,000 and $2,300. Now, Joe Biden touted this as the largest U.S. airlift since Vietnam and a moral obligation to allies. That's how he framed this. Trump, on the other hand, and many Republicans called it the most reckless mass importation of unvetted military-age males in history. And Donald Trump, that saying is aging very well now. Now that this happened, it's aging very well. Even though this is just one guy, this is the way the news cycle works. One person does something bad, they're going to take anybody who fits that description, and they're going to say, okay, anything that was said about not bringing those people in, now look what happened. So this is how this all went. And this is all under the Biden administration. And Donald Trump will get plenty of mileage out of this after we figure out what happens with Mr. Wolf, the National Guardsman who survived, at least as of this moment. And after the energy passes for what happened to Sarah, the woman who did not survive, Donald Trump's going to jump on this. So y'all want to know what Donald Trump's going to be talking about very soon. This one is guaranteed to come up. He's not going to do it yet because, again, the wounds are still fresh. We're not sure he's going to survive, and then somebody else has passed. If both of them pass, Donald Trump's going to jump on this even more heavily. If one of them survives, Donald Trump's still going to jump on it heavily. Either way, Donald Trump's going to jump on this. That one is a guarantee. Now, Lackenwall, this is the alleged suspect. He traveled over 2,700 miles from Washington State to D.C. before the attack. So there you go. He actually was in Washington State. That's where he got resettled to. He traveled to Washington, D.C. I don't know, maybe to do this. Maybe he was going to see the Lincoln Memorial. He decided on a whim. Who knows? Now, they say he legally purchased the weapon in Virginia, which some say that suggests premeditation rather than spontaneous violence. I don't know. Again, are we ever really going to find out what was going on in this guy's head? I'm not sure we will. But he purchased the gun legally in Virginia because of the legal status he had been granted. He could legally purchase a firearm in America, which is another questionable thing. That's an interesting note that he had the legal right to purchase a gun in America, even though he's not officially a citizen. He had been granted this status through this program that the Biden administration put together. he could buy a weapon. Interesting conversation. I don't want to go into the weeds of that one right now. But there was no manifesto or ideological statement found so far from this guy, so he didn't write anything down, at least what we know of so far, that says this is what happened. Now, the FBI is analyzing encrypted apps and online searches, but they have not yet established what they consider to be a clear motive. So right now, we still got more questions than answers. Now, the three-letter agencies, CIA, DHS, FBI, and the ATF, they've all launched a coordinated terrorism investigation. They're noting this as terrorism because where it happened and who did it. That's why they're calling it terrorism. My challenge with the whole terrorism argument is that the government can call anything terrorism that they want to call terrorism, and it's highly subjective. I think if you're going to call things terrorism, there needs to be clear guidelines. Okay, it becomes terrorism if you do this, or it happens here, or it happens between this person and that person. Then, okay, it's terrorism. And if it's not those things, then we can't call it terrorism. I don't like it being just wide open. Like, we'll just call anything terrorism we want to call terrorism because we want to escalate it and make it look worse, or make it look not call it terrorism because you don't want to make it look bad. I don't like that idea. The same way I don't like the concept of hate crime. I don't even like the concept of hate crime because, I mean, crime is crime. Do I have to, if I do a crime because I love you, is it a love crime? But if I do a crime and you assume that I did it because I hate you, then it's a hate crime. And now I get a stiffer penalty because I did it out of hate. What if I do the same crime out of love? What if I kill you out of love? Then I only get 10 years. But if I kill you out of hate, then I get 20. What the hell is the difference? There's still a dead body there, and I'm still responsible for it. So I don't like this concept of, first of all, I don't like the idea of a hate crime. Secondly, I don't like that you can subjectively just call something terrorism just because you want to call it that. I think you need to have clear guidelines on what makes terrorism and what's not. Black and white, to where anybody can just get the details, the facts of a situation and say, okay, based on these facts, this is terrorism, or based on these facts, it's not. But them just being able to choose, I'm not a fan. So over 100 agents are involved, and warrants were executed in Washington State and San Diego. I don't know what San Diego has to do with it, but that's where warrants were executed. It probably has something to do with where he lived or where he worked. Now, early rumors were saying that this might be a multi-person cell, that maybe other people are involved. Right now, it's unverified, which means I'm not sure it's true. We're not sure it's false. But right now, there's no current evidence of anybody else being involved, or that this guy got his idea from somebody in a foreign country telling him to do it. Right now, people are assuming he acted on his own volition and did it on his own. Now, federal prosecutors expect to add first-degree murder charges after Sarah Beckstrom passed away, and that's probably going to happen. They got to assume that it was premeditated. They got to know that, or they have to have evidence to believe that it was premeditated to get first degree. First-degree murder means premeditated murder. Now, those of you remember the OJ trial, that was a first-degree charge. Why? Because the prosecution accused OJ of premeditating what they said he did. What they said he did. And premeditating simply means you thought about it and you planned it out before you did it. Where if it's just a spur of the moment thing, let's say you're walking down the street and somebody steps on your shoes and you pull out a gun and shoot them, then that's not premeditated. That's something that's spur of the moment. Then you might get second degree. First degree means you thought about it, you planned it out, you had it in your mind, you were going to do it, and then you went and did it. That's premeditated. So first degree is what prosecutors expect. These are not the prosecutors on this case, but people who have experience as prosecutors, they expect this is going to be a first degree charge. And now they're calling it terrorism. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. Now, terrorism enhancements may apply depending on motive and connections to foreign entities if they can prove it. So they have to prove a certain motive, and they got to prove any connection to a foreign entity, which becomes kind of tricky. Who knows if I don't know if this guy can speak English. We'll see. Now, the suspect's asylum approval is not proof of the U.S. vetting process failing. I say no, it's not. It's actually proof that it works because it was designed exactly like this. I just told you exactly what the program was. So he went through multiple agencies, even though Trump is framing it as a systemic breakdown, and both sides are right. So the way that the system is set up, the operation, what was it called again? This is called Operation Allies Welcome. So they were allies of the United States during this conflict, according to President Biden and the Biden administration. So they said, we're going to welcome these people in because they're allies of ours. So we're going to bring in 130,000 of you who helped us in some way, shape, or form during our time of conflict. So according to the way that this was set up, the way this program was designed, yes, this guy was vetted properly, and he went through all the proper channels. It was why he was able to purchase a gun legally. So some say the fact that he got asylum and then he went and did a bad thing, that does not mean that the U.S. did anything wrong. I agree with that. That does not mean the U.S. did anything wrong, because if you have a process where you bring people in and all those people come in and one person or two people or even 30 of those people do something bad, that does not mean something was wrong with your process. It might just mean those 30 people decided to do something bad. That doesn't mean that the process itself that led to them coming in is wrong, because there are American citizens who do things wrong. And we all got here through what? Birth. Okay, does that mean that doesn't mean birth is wrong? I'm being hyperbolic here and sarcastic, but it's the same frame. Now, Donald Trump, of course, is going to reframe this, because that's all politics is frame control. He's going to reframe this and say, well, the fact that we even had this program and we allowed all these people in here without vetting them properly, that's the key term, without vetting them properly, led to this tragedy occurring. And he is going to have a strong point in the way that he's going to reframe it. He's going to say, not that the program didn't do the right thing, is that we shouldn't have had the program. The program itself was the wrong thing. It's not the fact that we had it, it's the way they set it up. It shouldn't have occurred the way that it occurred, because it led to this happening, even though this is just one guy out of 130,000 people who got brought into the country. So depending on how you want to look at this, you could say Donald Trump is very right. You could say Donald Trump is extremely wrong. And again, this is all politics is. It's a frame control battle. Who can better control the frame of the conversation? So Biden's not around to talk for himself. I mean, he's technically alive, but Joe Biden ain't going to say anything about this. And Donald Trump is going to have the cameras in front of him. So all the people who don't like Donald Trump, they'll make the argument in favor of Joe Biden on his side of the conversation. But this is all frame control. There's not really a right or wrong answer to this. Now, his vetting involved a bunch of agencies. Donald Trump's going to call this a breakdown. And as I said, after they get done figuring out if both guards people survive and that passes, then Donald Trump's going to jump on this. So I say give it a week or 2 or 3 before he really starts talking about it. Right now, he can't do it. Now, President Trump ordered a full review of all Afghan refugee and green card cases after the shooting occurred. Now, here's where it becomes a situation of wrong place, wrong time for all the refugees who are trying to get green cards and all the refugees who are trying to get asylum and stay in the country. Now, through no fault of your own, refugee seeker, green card seeker, now it's going to be harder for you to get that green card or that refugee status because of what this one guy did in Washington, D.C. 2 days ago. Because now the government is on higher alert and Donald Trump can send orders to them. They're on higher alert about who they allow in and who they say, no, you got to go. Whereas before, maybe 90% of them were getting granted asylum and green cards. Maybe 98% were getting asylum and green cards. Now that this happened and Donald Trump has made this noise, now it might go down from 98% down to about 75%. So now a bunch of people who, again, through no fault of their own, they weren't going to do anything wrong. They would have been good, hard workers in America. Now they're not going to get the status that they wanted simply because this one thing happened. And this is an important thing for y'all to understand. That the way human nature is thus designed is that human beings we are good at pattern recognition, or at least we think we are. So if you come across one person with a certain type of background and they do good, then you're more likely to be open and welcoming to the next person with that same background who comes across your purview. Why? Because the last person you came across who fit their description, you enjoyed the engagement. Now, flip it around, you come across somebody with a certain background and you don't like how things go with them, or they do something that you really don't like. Next person you see who fits that same profile, you are less likely to engage with them in a positive, welcoming way simply because of what the last person did, even though the two of them have nothing in common other than fitting the same profile somehow, some way in your mind. Is there any real connection between these two people? No, but you're going to make the connection simply because of the fact that you're a human being. So there's a bunch of people who are trying to get this refugee status and this asylum status here in America who are not going to get it starting today because of what happened 2 days ago. And again, no relation whatsoever. It just happened to be from the same country. That's it. How many of us are from all the same country, United States of America? We have nothing in common with other Americans other than the fact that we're Americans. So what that person did, that American did over there has nothing to do with anything that you would do, but somebody could hold it against you simply because you fit the description. It's the same thing that people try to use. This is the same frame that people use when they're defending immigration against Donald Trump. This frame that I just gave you. Why are you going to take the isolated behavior of this one individual and you're going to make it seem like anybody who fits their description is a bad person just because they're from XYZ country and the bad person was from XYZ country? That doesn't make any sense. We can't judge everybody based off that. We're a country of immigrants, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Y'all know what the argument is. Now, the flip side of that because we got to look at both sides of this conversation. The flip side of that is those same people who will try to make Donald Trump look bad for creating this frame and trying to control the frame by changing the conversation in the way that I just explained to you. These are the same people who will take one thing that a Republican does or a conservative does or a MAGA supporter does, and they'll try to frame the entire Republican Party, all conservatives, or all of MAGA based on the behavior of that one person. Does this happen? Give me a yes or no. Have y'all seen that happen? That happens all the time. So this is the reason why I tell you, politics is all about optics and it's all about frame control. It's not about facts. Politics has nothing to do with facts. It has nothing to do with accurate information. Politics is all about optics, how things look, and frame control. How do you control the frame of the conversation? That's all it is. So anytime I'm doing these lives and I see sometimes people in the comments talking about, well, here's a fact, or you're leaving out this fact, or you're not sharing all the information, or you're ignoring these facts that are being shared. Nobody gives a damn about facts in politics, folks. If you're still worried about facts or concerned about facts, go back to the 11th grade when facts kind of mattered. They don't matter anymore. Facts do not matter. Does everybody hear what I just said? Did everybody hear me? Facts do not matter. What matters in politics is optics, i.e. how it looks and feels, and frame control, i.e. how can you take the facts and create a frame around those facts such as to serve your purpose. So the facts matter only in how am I going to manipulate these facts to better my situation. That's all. That's the only way that facts matter in politics. Otherwise, facts don't matter. Everybody needs to understand this, especially those of you who are fact searchers. And listen, I understand the concept of facts. I can separate a fact from an opinion. I also understand that facts can be very easily manipulated by smart people who know what they're doing. If you work in politics, you better be smart. You better know what you're doing, because if all you have is facts and you work in politics, you won't be working in politics for long. You won't have a long career in politics in America if all you care about are facts. And every politician, while at the same time, every politician in America needs to act as if all they care about are facts. See, this is the game that they're playing. And if you don't understand this game, you can get very frustrated looking at politics in America because you think it goes one way when it actually goes another way. Politics in America is like the opposite of school, pretty much. In school, you get rewarded for having all the facts, all the information, and being able to objectively state the facts, information, and regurgitate it back on the test. That's what gets you A+ scores in school. In politics, if you do that, you will be out of a job very quickly. You won't have a career. You won't last 5 years in politics doing that. Focus on facts. And that applies in other areas too, not just politics. It applies in entrepreneurship very well. It applies in sales very well. In other words, all the stuff they teach you in school that makes you successful will make you a failure in quote unquote real life. This is one of my challenges with the education system, but I digress. Now, the USCIS has paused, as I just explained to you. Here's what happened. USCIS, they have paused 200,000 Afghan applications. So 200,000 Afghans who are applying to come to the United States, their applications have been paused. In other words, either A, you can't come over here yet, or B, you're here, but we're not granting you anything that allows you to stay permanently yet. You are in limbo until further notice. That's what just happened. 200,000 people now are in limbo because of what this one guy did on Wednesday. And now they got to sit there in limbo until the United States decides to let them out of limbo. And all the while, Tom Homan is hunting your ass down. This is how the behavior of one person can affect the situations of a whole bunch of other people. And they also added 500 troops to DC security. So I told you this at the beginning. Now DC, the tourist area of DC, is going to become more secured, and there's going to be more red tape you had to deal with just because of what this one guy did. So you see how the actions of one person can have these ramifications that affects everybody. Even if you're an American, you're just going to DC because you want to go to the Smithsonian, or you want to tour the White House, or you want to see the Capitol building, or whatever you want to do in DC. Now you got to deal with more nonsense, and the prices are probably going to go up because they got to pay those security people because of what this one guy did. One random person. Now, Biden era officials, they are being defended and saying that they did not, quote unquote, lose the suspect in the system because this guy had a valid address. He had a pending green card. He was about to get one. And he had no criminal record in the United States. This is all true. He had an address. He was trying to get a green card. He filed for the green card, and he didn't have a criminal record. And he went and did something bad. And now you have this reaction, which is going to be an overreaction, but at the same time, I understand the overreaction. Sometimes there is an overreaction, but I understand why there's an overreaction. Again, the TSA was an overreaction to 9/11, but I understand why it occurred. A bunch of people wanted it. A bunch of people were afraid. A lot of people didn't want to get on planes, and you had to prove to them that it was extremely safe to get on a plane. Otherwise, the aviation industry would have collapsed. So you had to overreact in order to get people back on airplanes. And here we are 25 years later. Do we still need the TSA? I say no, but a lot of people say yes. I understand. It's the same thing with this right here. Is that this guy, there was nothing in his profile that said they should have caught him before he did something wrong. Any one of you who's listening to me right now, you may have nothing in your profile that says you're going to commit a crime, but you can still choose to commit a crime tomorrow. So you can't prevent these kind of things. This is the trade-off of the Second Amendment in the United States of America, is that some people will abuse their privilege and their right, it's not a privilege, their right to bear arms. Some people will abuse the right to bear arms. This is just how it goes. There is no fix for this. The issue is a lot of people who want to position themselves as these moral authorities, they want to come up with some fix for human nature. You cannot fix human nature with laws and rules. You can't do it. Human nature is just human nature. And when I say human nature, what I mean is some people will take something that they have access to and they will abuse it and use it in the wrong way. You can't prevent it from happening because you cannot read people's minds. And if the United States government and security system in the United States decides that we're going to try to come up with a system to where we can predict somebody doing the wrong thing, and then we're going to stop them from doing the wrong thing before they have actually done it. You don't want that, American citizens. You don't want that. The trade-off of you not having that is that sometimes somebody is going to abuse their rights and they're going to do something wrong and somebody's going to be a victim of it. That's the trade-off that we must accept if we want the freedom that comes with being Americans. The trade-off of the Second Amendment is that somebody's going to abuse it and somebody's going to get hurt because of that abuse. If you want to somehow, some way create a utopian society where that abuse cannot occur, understand you're going to have to give up a ton of your freedom in exchange for that security. I vote no on that every day of the week, twice on Sunday. I don't want to give up any freedom in exchange for security. I will accept the danger of less security in order to have more freedom. You cannot have both at the same time. You cannot have full security and full freedom at once. Impossible. So every American who's listening to this, you need to understand this. This is a nuanced argument. It's a pretty simple nuance, but it's one that a lot of people don't want to accept. Is that there is no clear black and white, quote unquote, right answer to this. That there will just be abuse, and we have to accept that there will be some abuse. You can do as much as you can to defend yourself. You can take advantage of the Second Amendment as well and be vigilant, be aware, notice what's going on around you. Even with all of that, something bad could still happen to you. Welcome to humanity. Welcome to life. This is how it goes. Again, these are National Guardsmen. They got guns. They got shot. So what do you think something can't happen to you? This is just how it goes. This is the trade-off that you accept of life. And this shouldn't make you feel nihilistic, like, oh, man, that means something bad can happen anyway. I might as well not do anything. No, it should give you a sense of urgency. Let's live life to the fullest and do the most that we can while we have this time here called life, because anything could happen. And even if nothing happens, you still have a limited amount of time. So this is just the way we have to look at it. Now, politicians, on the other hand, they're going to reframe this and they're going to try to make it seem like, hey, if we don't do something, something bad could happen to you. Donald Trump's going to do this. I understand. This is what he has to do. If I was Donald Trump, I would do the same thing. This is what he has to do when you're in politics. This is the game that you're in. You have to play it this way. So he's not wrong for doing it. While at the same time, I'm telling you as a non-politician, just as a logical observer of life, that this is the truth of the situation. So when you hear Donald Trump say what he's going to say in about 2 weeks, now you understand why he's saying it. And when you hear his opponent saying what they're going to say over the next couple weeks, now you understand why they're saying it. They both have to play the game that they're in. Everybody has a game they have to play, and this is their full-time job. They got to play the game a certain way. So any of you who follows politics and you listen to this stuff, don't take it personal. Like, these people have to do certain things as part of their job. It's part of the job description that they have to try to frame things a certain way, even if what they're saying sounds like some bullshit. And sometimes it is. But this is what they have to do. Now, you want to get in politics, you're going to be saying the same thing that they're saying. You call it bullshit from the outside looking in. You get in politics, you're going to be saying the same stuff. And people are going to be saying the same thing about you. Now, the incident has reignited this fierce debate over the resettlement and the immigration safety. And it can be a debate, but there's already 130,000 people here. What you want to do? Tom Homan ain't got that many ICE agents. They got a lot. They ain't got that many. They don't have that many ICE agents to go and get people. And a bunch of these people have legal clearance. So even if they catch them, they got to let them out. So they're already here, ladies and gentlemen. They're already here. If you're afraid now over some Afghans who got resettled here, understand they're already here. They already have legal status. And this happened between 2021 and 2023, and you didn't even know it was fucking happening. So imagine what else is happening you don't know about. I told you all, the government is a huge, bloated bureaucracy. There's a whole lot of things happening that you know nothing about, that I don't know anything about. Nobody knows anything about except the people in the government, and you won't know unless they want you to know about it. That's what it is. So Republicans are citing that this is a national security failure. I just explained to you. This is the game. This is what they have to do. Now, humanitarian groups are saying, don't do broad punishment of vetted allies just because of something that one person did. Did I just not tell you all this is exactly what's going to happen? That's what's going to happen. So now when you see it, you'll know. Now, claims are circulating that the White House was the intended target. We don't know. Again, what was he going to do? Just shoot at the walls of the house, shoot through the windows? What exactly was he going to do as the White House as a target? It's not like he was going to walk into the house. So we'll see. They're just using the White House because the White House symbolically is like the head of the country or the main building of the country, so they can get the masses of Americans to say, oh my God, they were going to go after the White House. I can't believe they were going to do that. And it raises the alarm of the entire situation. So again, this is just framing. Investigators say the attack appeared focused on uniformed personnel, not government leadership. Again, we don't know. This is all, again, frame control, just putting material out there because something just happened. Now, public memorials and national solidarity campaigns are emerging around the guardsmen, we know. And there's a hashtag Justice for Sarah. So you already know. You already know where this is going. I already told y'all where it's going. Y'all already know where this is going. And if Andrew does not survive, then it's just going to multiply. So let me see if I can find updated information on Andrew Wolf. Let's see. The latest on Andrew Wolf is... So everybody's still saying the same stuff. He's fighting on in critical condition. His family's getting full support. And they're saying we still have hope. So that's the situation. Doing better than imagined. I mean, that's his mom talking. So I don't know how much you want to take that as means he's going to survive. We don't know. That's the situation from DC as of now. So let's get into the comments here, folks. I do need to take a quick restroom break. So give me 90 seconds so I can run to the restroom. And then we will fire up the soundboard and we will bring on some of our best sounds. And let's see. One that would be perfect for yesterday was this one.
Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
The dessert from Thanksgiving.
Strawberry cheesecake.
And one more. Let's have another round of food.
Have some more chicken.
90
Have
seconds.
some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Yes. I want to sit on this chair.
Wait, that's my chair. You can sit
No,
in this
this is mine.
chair. Yeah, you sit in this chair next to me.
Wait, what is that?
Yeah, it's one of your toys.
I'll play with it with Bibi.
Okay. You want to sit in this chair?
Yes.
Okay.
Like this way?
Let me move it over here. Get down first. Let me move it. Okay, now you're sitting there.
Oh.
Okay, let's get to the comments here. I'm reading comments from oldest to newest, folks. So if I don't see a comment, I'm not purposely ignoring your comment. I might purposely ignore your comment if you say something dumb, but mostly it's because I'm just reading from oldest to newest. You going to sit up here or what?
No.
Okay. Be gentle closing that door. All right, let's see what we got. Scarlett said, so we knew it would be expensive. Well, expensive is relative. And he said, was suspicious. Bourbon said, say it again, please. Yeah. Christopher Barker says, and we have veterans sleeping in the streets. Yeah, so this is the crazy part of how the government spends money. And there's a whole lot of spending going on that we don't know about. So when Elon came around with Doge, you saw how they attacked him, right? Team TNT said, yes, we housed them in military installations and we fed them and they weren't happy with the food. Scarlett says, tip of the iceberg. That I agree with. It is tip of the iceberg. Sue Smith said, yes, I heard about some of it. I heard about none of this. Wifey Tip says, yes, is why everybody talks about the sleeper cells because many of them came over. Okay, fair enough. Aziam said, according to, I already answered that one. Nana said, any amount is too much. Okay. There's a lot of nuance to the conversation. I understand. Lotus said, did they get SNAP benefits? From what I read, it was not mentioned. So I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. And Goose Khan said, free money is just that. Well, it's not really free. That is our taxpayer dollars. That's not free. AZM said, facts, we're supposed to have healthy skepticism and not be emotionally moved by this. Well, that's how critical thinkers look at things, but human beings are very easily moved emotionally with the right story. Smitty said, that isn't a lot. Couldn't even find a reliable car for that. What do they need a reliable car for? The people who move about this country every day with no car. You don't need a car. And if you got 90 days of housing and $2,000 and you're not even sure how long you're going to be able to stay here in America, I think you have much bigger issues than a car. The biggest issue is, first of all, can I stay here in this country? Second of all, how do I get a job? So when this $2,500 or $2,000 runs out, what the hell am I going to do? I think that's a much more important question than getting a car. So Robert Jamela said, great, yet another situation that the gun banned people will jump on. Who's the gun banned people? What does that mean? You mean people who are against guns or people who are for it? Nana said he was a sleeper cell. What do you mean? User stat said you are being disingenuous. How so? What did I say wrong? DS05 said, what do you think is happening to the world in 2026? What do you mean by that? I need more specific as what question you're asking. Loro, thank you for the follow. Disneyer, thanks for the follow. Mike said already happened. Soraya said, if he has fam here, someone else knew. I don't know about that. If you go commit a crime right now, does it mean somebody in your family knew about it? You might just decide to go do something. I can't go along with that one. CMAC for daily pay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. For Benita, thanks for the repost. Sorella Jamela, congrats on the number 3 gifter badge. Ginger at 052, thank you for the share. Good Free said, if you unalive any federal agents in any capacity is first degree. Is it always first degree just because it's them? Are you stating that as fact or are you stating that as this is just the way that it goes? Because if you're stating that as fact, that's interesting law if that's the way it is. But I think prosecution get to choose how they want to charge something. Ginger said, but they said that Biden overrode the agency trying to reject people per whistleblowers. Well, they didn't reject people, so maybe that's why they did it. The circle back be lied. What does that mean, Sorella? I don't know what you're talking about. Butterfly said, do you have a whiteboard or are you just talking this whole live? Well, that's a false binary. I do have a whiteboard. It's over there, but there's nothing on it. It's completely clean right now. Are you asking me if I'm getting why are you asking me about a whiteboard? I'm not quite sure why you're asking. And you're asking me a either or question. And I am talking this live, and I do have a whiteboard. So your binary is, again, that's why I said it's a false one. Butterfly said, you asked the same question again. Let's see. Jason Bazin, congrats on the gifts. Thank you for the gifts, and congrats on the gifter badge. Bourbon for President, thank you for the share. Jason, thank you for the 97 lightning bolts. Amanda said, you have just summed up racism. Well, I've just summed up a whole lot of stereotypes that people have in their minds. But I understand every human being does this. Every human being generalizes with stereotypes. And it's a way of saving mental energy for all of us. Whether you think it's a positive thing or a negative thing, we all do it. Everybody is guilty of it. Your mom said, looking at what I see about the immigration crisis in Europe, we need to make deportation a priority. Well, that's why we got Tom Homan. They are making it a priority. Is people are fighting against it. So you're right about that. And that's been happening since January. Ricky Fleming, thank you for the share. Mel Joy, thanks for the follow. Teresa Valerie said, facts definitely matter. No, they don't. Facts matter when they're put in a context that makes people give a damn. And if you put facts in a context that people don't give a damn about, they will find a way very quickly to dismiss your facts. So that's my proof that facts don't matter. Because people don't have to accept any fact they don't want to accept. So what makes it matter? Leah, thank you for the Go Popular. Tusk Pup said, AI is the final nail in the coffin for facts. Indirectly, it is. What AI does is it gives human beings further incentive and more tools to ignore any facts that they don't want to accept. That's what AI does. So AI is more indirectly responsible. The entity mostly responsible for facts no longer mattering are people. Humans are the reason that facts don't matter. AI is just a tool that allows us to make facts not matter as much if we want them to not matter. And it depends on which facts. Tony said morality was replaced by optics and politics. That's true. Leah, number 1 gifter badge. Congrats. Thank you for the lightning bolt. Baby girl 08. Good morning. Bridget, thanks for the follow. Jason Bazin, thanks for the rose. Jeremy Gilly, thank you for the follow. Tony Osborne says, spot on. Thank you. Sorella Jamela says, sometimes I debate that politics are in everything we do. Job, school, relationships. They are. That's not even a debate. Politics with a lowercase p is in everything. Politics, definition of politics is things that you do involving other human beings in order to get the things that you want to protect your interests or further your personal interests. That's all politics is. Now, politics with a capital P, that's the government, politicians, and elections, senators, Congress, president. But politics with a lowercase p is anything that involves human beings. When you put 3 or more people in any situation, you get politics. The saying is, as soon as you put 3 people in a room, you get politics. Finn2327 said, that's why Bernie Sanders can never get a good run. He uses too many actual facts. That's part of the reason. And another reason is that he is not firmly established and doesn't have enough friends in either party to get the nomination if they don't want him to get the nomination. That's the biggest reason why he doesn't get further, not because he has facts. And Bernie Sanders manipulates facts just as much as any other politician. So, Finn, I'm going to reject your reason. Your conclusion is right. Bernie Sanders can't get a good run, but the reason is not because he uses too many facts. That's not true. Bernie Sanders is a tried and true politician just like the rest of them. He just uses a different shtick than the rest of them, but he has to play the game the same way everybody else does. That's the only reason he's survived in politics for 50 years. Teresa said, when people go to the grocery store or the gas station, they can see factually prices are still high. Well, first of all, that's a false frame.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Because high is a relative term, Teresa. So what do you mean by high? You go to a gas station, the gas is $3.69 a gallon. Is that high? Or if you go to another one, it's $2.99. Is that low? I remember when gas was $1 a gallon. All right. There was a time gas was $1 a gallon. So it didn't last long, but it was. So which one is high? Which one is low? I remember when gas was $4.50, damn near $5 a gallon. Is that high? Is that low? So that's a relative term. And it's not factual that prices are high because high is an opinion. So it can't be factual. You can't say something that's factual that it's an opinion that you are assigning to other people. Now, if it's your opinion that gas is high and you've had that opinion for the last 6 months, then that can be a fact that I've had this opinion for the last 6 months. That can be a fact. But to assign an opinion to other people and say that it's factually true is a false frame. Jason Bazin, thank you for the lightning bolt. Finn said job creation. Jason with the lightning bolts. Appreciate you going hard today. Finn2327 said the National Guard are not armed with ammo. Yeah, they are. And a National Guards person can have ammo. They could not have ammo, but the National Guardsman who got shot had ammo. He returned fire. He's the one who shot the suspect. Your mom said visas can be revoked. Yeah, this is true, but there's no reason to revoke these people's visas. That's the tricky part of this whole situation. Nana says sleeper cells are all over America thanks to Biden. All right, fair enough. Sorella said, I heard that 350,000 Somalians are being deported. You mean out of America? I doubt it. We don't have the manpower to deport 350,000 Somalians. Now, somebody might have that idea, but we didn't got the manpower to do it. Are there that many here? Bad Jamma said legal clearance without being vetted. Well, according to the system that was created by Biden, they were vetted. They were vetted based on the way the system said, this is what vetting is. This is what you have to do. They did it. So technically, they did vet these people. They may not have vetted them the way that maybe Trump would want them vetted, but they were vetted. Bad Jamma said it's a national security issue, so you're defending the guy who shot our soldiers. That's a straw man. Nice try.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Number one, that's a straw man because you say I'm defending the guy who shot our soldiers, and there's nothing in that I've said here that defends him. So that's number one why you get the strawberry cheesecake. Secondly, this is a non sequitur.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Because you're trying to draw a line. You're trying to draw a connecting line between the national security issue that Donald Trump's going to bring up, that is frame control, that doesn't make it a national security issue just because he said it. You're trying to connect that to the guy who shot the soldiers and say that I'm defending him. So that's a non sequitur. And then because you're talking about somebody getting shot, that's a little bit of
Emotional, damn it.
That's an appeal to emotion frame that you're trying to use there. So congratulations to you, Bad Jamma, with the first Russell Westbrook triple-double logical fallacy award.
Oh, baby, a triple. Oh, yeah.
Of the day. Congratulations. Black Friday triple-double by Bad Jamma. Finn said he was shot by CIA, not guard. According to what I saw, this guy who got shot back. Now, if I got bad information, I got bad information. They say the guy who got shot is the one who hit him back. He critically wounded the guy, and that guy wounded him. So they wounded each other. Let's see. Sorella said, some pass on the culture of their land to their children who are now adults in politics. Yes, that is true. That always happens, though. And the culture could be good, and you could like it. It could also be something that you don't like. Not necessarily good or bad, but it could be something you like, something you don't like. Jason, thanks for joining the fan club and the heart me. Marky Mark, good morning. Cool V said, inside job. Inside of what? Noel, good morning from Pleasant Hill, California. Shout out to California, getting up early. Sorella said the ones against guns. Yes, and then you got the people who are for guns. So there will always be an argument. Anytime something with a gun comes into the news, you're going to have this argument flaring up again. Ron Jackson and Willie Young, thanks for the follows. Jitterbug said, I'm an Afghan vet and I also worked OAR and OAW. Trust me, this is just the beginning. The beginning of what? What is just the beginning? What are you claiming here, Jitterbug? Tez NY, good morning. Pam A. Rice, thank you for the follow. Kim K, thanks for the follow. Haley Lynn, thank you for the follow. Toga New York said, fact can be framed in many ways. Yes, exactly. Which is why facts don't matter, because you can easily manipulate a fact to tell any story that you want, even if the story is a lie. You can tell a story that is a lie based on a fact that is true. And this is how many people get twisted up. And this is why journalism doesn't exist anymore. Because people will take facts and they can twist it around and make a story that is a false story in general, but it is supported by facts. So then you had this whole argument between people who like the story and people who don't like the story. And they're all arguing about similar things, but they're arguing about, one is arguing about the frame, the other one's arguing about the few facts that are in the story, and neither one of them is wrong. So that's the whole issue with facts. That's the reason why facts don't matter. If you want to convince or influence people, you need more than just facts. Because again, people can accept any fact that they want out of context to believe anything they want, and people can reject any fact that they want if they don't want to accept it. So how do you make facts matter? The answer is you don't. Ace Frenchie said, I bet you like uppercase P's. I don't know what you mean by that. You mean like politics? Sorella Jamela said, I learned more today. Thank you, Dre. You're welcome. By the way, my coaching program, the Power Presence Mastermind, the link is in my profile. Those of you who want to be coached directly by me in mastering your communication for your leadership, your sales, your energy, your aura, your influence, and winning friends and influencing people. Michelle, thank you for the heart. Elizabeth Webb said, good morning from Atlanta. 31 degrees. Is it 31 degrees in Atlanta? That's crazy. That's the reason why I don't live in Atlanta. Good morning. What is that? You got a coat? That's a big coat. Gentle. Pepper said, I remember gas being 78 cents a gallon. Yeah, I remember 99 cents. It was probably around year like 2000, 2001. Gas was very cheap. 2BU said, prices are 3 years low. They were $5 since COVID. Get above. Thanks for the follow. Toga said, I feel that my gas tank at $2.89 has been over $3 for almost all year. Yeah, not fine. Well, I live in the city, so in big cities, the further into the city you go, the more the gas costs. You go right outside the city, the gas gets a little bit cheaper. But last I looked, I don't always look. The last I looked, it was over $3. It was like $3.69 a gallon. Kim K said, Bernie doesn't want to be Prez. He is used to bring up the ones they want to be Prez, then gets out. Okay. Sorrel said, let's get to 100K. Tap, tap. Let's get to 100K likes, folks. We're at 81,000. Let's get to 100K here, please. Cool V said, gas is $4.50 in Cali. Yeah, that's crazy. User Ava M said, Campisi said, there's 70,000 in Minnesota Somalians thanks to Obama and Biden both. That's a lot of people. There's 70,000 Somalians in Minnesota? I didn't know it was that many. I knew it was some. I didn't know it was that many. Nurse JBZ says, just tuned in to hear the strawberry cheesecake. Yes, whenever I get to use it. Live Free said, America needs to stay out of other people's countries. You think Americans don't commit crimes overseas? Any kind of person can commit a crime anywhere. So I don't think that. I don't know if you're saying me specifically. Pepper said, of course, with the taxpayer, we'll have to pay for the shooter's medical bills. Yeah, if they got shot, they had to be cared for, even if they don't have health insurance. So technically, yes, we will. Rent Free said, I just caught you being a hypocrite. You said Biden vetted based on what Biden considered vetting. No, Biden's administration created the system. The system says to vet people, this is what has to happen, A, B, C. Donald Trump says to vet people, we need to do A, B, C, D, E, and F. So Donald Trump will say they were not vetted because it doesn't fit my frame. Joe Biden's administration will look at the program and say, based on our program, this is vetting. Donald Trump is saying the vetting of this program is insufficient because the vetting should be like this instead of like this. So you did not catch me being a hypocrite. I know exactly what I'm saying, and I'm pretty precise in my language. So because of that, you get a leftover Thanksgiving
Strawberry cheesecake.
slice of strawberry cheesecake, rent free. Congratulations. Robin P said, there's reporting the shooter was given asylum this year under the Trump administration. Well, it might have been if that's true. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not going to chase down your lead here, but Robin P, let's just assume that what you're saying is true. If he were given asylum under the Trump administration, it's probably based on the rules of the Biden program. The program went in place under Joe Biden. And if that program is still in place and they can't take it out because it would have to be taken out by an act of Congress and Trump didn't get to doing that, then they still have to do it under the Trump administration. Marky Mark said, Congress and Senators go against Trump. What does that mean? Rick Thomas said, hard reality is there will be an empty seat at her family's house going forward. Young person is gone. That is true. Kim K says $2.69 in Kentucky. Yeah, it depends on where you're at. I mean, in cities, the gas tends to cost more, and outside the city, gas tends to be cheaper. Rick said, I remember when gas was 25 cents. I don't remember that. What year was that? Pepper said $2.33 in Columbus, Ohio. Toga said, I live in upstate New York for gas. Christopher said, gas is $2.65 in small town Georgia. In less populated places, the gas tend to be cheaper. Nurse JB said 2 cheesecakes so far. I thought he gave out 3. Live Free said, not you specifically. I'm saying U.S. commit crimes overseas against the citizens of those countries. Okay, you're saying the country itself. Yeah, and because there's no police to the USA can get away with it because who's going to do anything? Who's going to take the USA to court for anything that they did? The answer is nobody, so USA can do whatever they want. So a lot of you had gas is under $3 right now. In Miami, the gas, I got gas the other day. It was like $3.69 if I remember correctly. I don't always even look, but I believe it was three something. I do remember it was number three. Rick Thomas says it was in the 1960s. Okay. We go back to the 1960s. It was 25 cents a gallon. I don't know. I might just drive just to get gas, just to get cheap gas. Marky Mark said, Democrats who tell U.S. troops don't obey Trump is in violation of. Yeah, I heard about that. I was maybe going to do a live on that subject, but this one kind of bumped it off the headline. So we might still get to that one. We'll see. About the whole, those stories, not stories, but advertisements, I guess, that they put out saying, hey, you don't have to follow an unlawful order, even though Trump didn't give any orders. He didn't give in order, let alone unlawful one. They just came out with that out of nowhere. So, yeah, it was crazy that they did that. We might get to that. We might talk about that next week. We'll see. Kim said, Rick is old. 89 cents. The cheapest I remember was 13. The cheapest I remember was about $1, about 99 cents. User Ava M. Campisi said, I like your truth, sir. So happy Friday from Tampa, Florida. I like to what you're answering. Well, I appreciate it. User Ava Campisi. It's not really my truth. I'm not even trying to get to truth. I'm just trying to objectively respond to the things that people are saying and logically break down anybody's inaccuracies, but I appreciate it. So a bunch of you under $3. That's good. Miami's a big city, so here it should be on the high end. But somebody said California is $4.50, so California is even higher. Highest you probably get is somewhere like Manhattan. Christopher Barker said, I don't really look either. I need it, so I get it. Yeah, for the most part, I don't look, but I'm just interested sometimes just to see. Sometimes subconsciously I just notice, or just, well, how much? $3.69? Not like I'm not going to get the gas. But I remember in 2008, gas was damn near $5 a gallon. That felt like it was a bill as opposed to just an expense, even though they technically could be the same thing. Forever MDLM said gas is definitely very expensive in Florida. Well, I wish gas was just $1 a gallon. $1 a gallon is a fair price. It's just lower it down to $1 and does everybody get it for $1. Nana Cat said my mom would hand a guy $5 and say fill it up in 1971. Yeah, that's crazy to think. $5 would fill up the gas tank. Doesn't even matter how big the gas tank is. Karina, happy Thanksgiving. Mr. Howell J said 99 cents in the 90s. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it. Jason said I had to have diesel for work, so I don't look at the price. Fair enough. Kim said no surprise about Cali. Everything there is more expensive. I've heard. I was looking at Cali as a place to live probably about 6 years ago, right before the virus. I didn't like the house. I didn't know what the housing looked like. The cost of the housing compared to South Florida, even though it was older housing, it didn't make sense to me. Older construction, but higher prices. It just didn't add up. And then the virus happened and ended up being a good decision. Marky said you can get $3.99 in Sacramento. Okay, so California, y'all just have higher prices. Gas in Chicago is like $4.50 for high octane. Nurse said Bo wants electric and AI. Who's Bo? Marky Mark said gasoline is always more expensive in Democratic-led states. I don't know if it is. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't notice these things, so I don't know if it is or it isn't. I think in big cities, gas just costs more money. So they mark it up because of the areas that they're in, because they got to pay for their businesses, the gas station owners. And then other than that, I can't explain to you the economics of gas. I don't know. So y'all might know more than me. Sorella said 2 oil production plants are opening back up after 35 years. I read in the news a few weeks ago. In America? That'd be good if it's in America, because that should make it cheaper, hopefully. Hopefully it makes it cheaper. But if it doesn't, then I don't think anybody will care. Yeah, tax per gallon is paid at the pump. Right. So tax per gallon could be based on the area. So, and Sorella said, yes, that's in America. Okay, well, I hope you're right. And hopefully that lowers the price and not raises it. If it lowers the price, that'd be a good thing. If it raises the price, then nobody's going to care. And people just keep bitching about the price of gas. This is one reason why people go on EV with the electric vehicles, but I'm not a fan of an electric vehicle. I don't like the concept. I'd rather a gas-powered vehicle and pay for the gas. Electric vehicle, long term, I'm thinking of the slippery slope of that, where your car can be controlled by somebody far away and they can shut your car down. Now, technically, there's a lot of electricity in cars today, even if they're gas powered. But the power of the car, the actual running of the car, goes by a gas system, which is there in the mechanism. Whereas electricity, you could maybe figure out a way to shut that down remotely. I'm not a fan. Spare Me said in 1970 gas was 31 cents. In 1980 oil embargo. I'm reading off of Rumble Studio here. Oil embargo refers to the significant reduction in all production and exports from Iran due to the war, which began in 1980. Global oil supply prices causing prices to rise sharply. Okay, we'll take that as we'll enter that into the record. Again, I do not study gas prices, not even the ones that I pay. So, all this said, folks, sometimes people ask me for a book recommendation. I'll give you a recommendation of my book, The Third Day. Those of you who don't have this book, this is my most popular book, very popular with professional audiences. This book is all about how you show up and give your best effort when you least feel like it. So the third day is that day, any day in your situation, day, week, month, even a whole year, where you have to do your job. You don't really feel like doing your job, but you are obligated to do your job. We call that the third day. How do you show up and give your best effort when you least feel like it? That's what this book is all about. I will give you the book for free. Just cover the shipping. Just go to thirddaybook.com. The book is free. Just cover the shipping. Thirddaybook.com. This is my most popular book. If you were to see my whole bookshelf, so I got more copies of this book than any other book that I have, because this is the one that we end up shipping out the most of, and I'm always replenishing and getting more of these. Thirddaybook.com. This book is, again, the decision that separates the pros from the amateurs. You want to be a pro at what you do. There will be days you don't feel like working, and you have to show up and do your job. That's what this book is about. How do you do that in a systematic and strategic way? This is not a motivational book. This book is about the system and the strategy for showing up when you don't feel like it and getting the job done. Again, it's third day, and the word book, thirddaybook.com. I'll give you the book for free. Just cover the shipping, thirddaybook.com. Now, if you're looking for something on a higher level than that, and you want to go into something that is more intensive, then you want the Power Presence Mastermind. Not this book, but the Power Presence Mastermind, which is my coaching program, Gentle with That Door. My coaching program where you can have me as your direct coach, where we master your communication. Now, I want you all to understand something about communication. Most people, when they hear communication, they're thinking about what I'm doing right now, which is talking, or what I'm showing you right here, which is writing. That is only 15% of communication. 85% of communication, ladies and gentlemen, is nonverbal. 85% of communication is nonverbal. It is not what you say. It is not what you write down, like this 400-page manual that I'm showing you here. 85% of communication is in your energy. It is in your aura. It is in your presence. It is in your confidence. It is in your discipline. It is in all the stuff that you did before you even came across the other person. It's all the stuff that they do that they're not saying. That's the communication. If you master that part of communication, then what you say is merely a multiplier of what people have already perceived about you. The Power Presence is all about mastering that communication on all levels so that you get more promotions, make more money, get more job opportunities, close more deals, have more people wanting to be your friend, have more people orbiting you, and you have more people coming to you simply because you become a gravitational and more magnetic type of individual. That is what the Power Presence is about. So any of you who is working in your career and you feel like you're being overlooked too often, you feel like your value is not being honored the way it's supposed to be valued, you feel like you're not getting the promotions you're supposed to get, you feel like you are better than the job position that you have, you feel like you should be getting better clients, you should be making more money, you should be getting more opportunities, and you feel like you're just being overlooked and not looked at the level at which you actually exist, that is because of your presence. That is not because of your skill. It's not because you're not working hard enough. It's not because you're not spending enough hours in the office. It's because you are being perceived in a way that is lower status than how you perceive yourself. The gap between here and there, to how do we close that delta? It is all through what we call the Power Presence. Power Presence is all about the energy, the aura, and the way that you carry yourself. You get that down, multiply that with your skills, and that's when you start getting the outcomes that you want. You can get into my mastermind with me as your direct coach by going to the link in my profile, or just text me the word POWER to my number, which is 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. That's where you can get into this. And when you join the Power Presence Mastermind, I will send you this. I'm not selling this to you. This is not for sale. I'm not offering you to buy this. Go to the link in my profile, powerpresenceprotocol.com/mastermind. Get into my mastermind. When you are in the mastermind, this will come in the mail to you. You don't even have to buy it. I'm not even going to charge you. This is not sold separately. You will get the book as part of the mastermind. I'm only giving this to people in my mastermind. Power Presence Protocol. That is what it does. This is where the game gets changed. If you already have skill, if you're already a higher level, technically skilled professional at what you do, you are good at what you do, but you want to get more results from what you do, understand, do not work harder. Do not put in more hours. Do not complain about it. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. All you need to do is step up the presence. You step up the presence, the same skills that you had yesterday will start producing 10x the returns tomorrow. All you got to do is get in the protocol. This comes with it. Okay. All that said, those of you not ready to do that, you can get this book, thirddaybook.com. Everybody got it? Now, somebody said, there's a question here where Nurse J. Beasy said, is the book like Toastmasters Club good in communication? Nurse J. Beasy, I don't think you're trying to insult me with that question, but the answer is hell no. All right, Toastmasters doesn't have shit on what I teach. Now, I've been a member of Toastmasters. I've been the president of Toastmasters in South Beach. I was president for a year. And what goes on in Toastmasters has absolutely nothing on what goes on in my mastermind and in my coaching programs. So this is a 400-page manual. I would say out of 400 pages, what in here would Toastmasters teach you? And the answer is absolutely nothing. And again, I wrote this manual and I was a president of a Toastmasters. So there's nothing you can learn in Toastmasters that you can get from this. So I appreciate the question. I don't think you meant that as an insult, but that it is an insult, but it's not an insult. I don't take it as an insult, but it is an insult for you to compare this to Toastmasters. Shout out to Toastmasters, but please, no, absolutely not. All that said, everybody. I do these live streams Monday through Friday. Cool V say you just ordered the third day. All right, that's what's up. Shout out to everybody who got the third day. I do these. Nurse JBZ, I don't think you meant it as an insult. I'm being facetious, but no, Toastmasters has nothing on what I do. I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. So if you like this one, come back on Monday where we be in the month of December. Tomorrow's the 29th, 30th. Monday is December 1st, right? So Monday will be in a new month. A couple things I will tell you all because my background, in addition to being an athlete, is in personal and professional development, as you can see, as I've just told you with these two publications. Personal and professional development is what I do as my main business. Talking about this kind of stuff, current events, is more for fun than my main business. My main business is personal and professional development. So I will remind you all, since we have a new month starting, write down your goals for the month of December. Also, write down your goals for the year 2026, because that's coming up in a month. Don't wait until New Year's Eve to write down your goals for next year. Start writing your goals down for next year right now so that you have a whole month to think about it. Because the goals you think about when you first start writing them down, you're going to think about more on December 5th and more on the 15th and more on Christmas Day and more on New Year's Eve. So start writing down your goals for next year. Also, this weekend, write down your goals for the month of December. So every month you want to have your goals and every year you want to have your goals. Get those written down and get them committed to paper, digitally or physically, but write them down. Don't just think about them, write them down. All that said, everybody. Thirddaybook.com for those of you who want to start on the book level. The book's free. Just cover the shipping. Those of you who want to go to a higher level, you leaders, you high level professionals, those of you who are already highly technically skilled and you want to get a multiplier of your skills, Power Presence Mastermind. I'll be your direct coach. I got you covered. Go to the link in my profile. It is not the book. It's the coaching from me. I'll give you the book to go along with the coaching. So the book is not the main thing. The main thing is me as your coach. The add-on is the book. This is like the side dish. This is like the bread they give you when you order a meal at a restaurant. Then you know how to give you a little bread with the butter. This is the bread with the butter. The actual meal is that you get coached by me. Go to the link in my profile. Everybody have a great Friday. And so TikTok gave me a restriction. They said, I'm redirecting users to purchase products outside of TikTok. Fuck you, TikTok. Anyway, before I get kicked off of TikTok and suspended again. Everybody have a great weekend. We out here. I'll see y'all on Monday. I'm about to get suspended. Let me stop talking. Everybody have a great weekend. We are out of here. Work on your game. We're done.